So this was like a challenge, and he's like, if I give you a spare tie rod, since they have a mechanics thing there, will you try to bend this factory one? And I'm like, bet. And I was like, bet. What's up, Brite Nation? So, you know, we just got off the Rubicon Trail. A little bit kind of sad news, and it's not about the Bronco, because the Bronco did fantastic. That Pro Runner killed it. As soon as we got off the Rubicon, my phone blew up, and because you don't have service out there, and unfortunately we had a call saying my grandpa was very ill and in the hospital and didn't have much time. So we took an emergency flight out of Reno, flew into Eastern Washington, drove over into Idaho, where I got to spend his last 2 days with him. So unfortunately, we did lose my grandpa. He was in his late 80s. He lived a wonderful life, and the whole family got to be there with him, which is kind of all you could ask for in that situation. But I don't want to put a damper on things. I just want to let you know, like, there was a time after the Rubicon that we've been offline, and that's kind of why. But in the meantime, we had to leave the APG Pro Runner behind. And this guy here, George, he was very eager to get the vehicle back, because we went out and beat it up in the desert and hit all the whoops, and then we drove it all the way home, and then Brittany drove it like 13 hours to the Rubicon. Then we drove through the Rubicon, and I would have driven it here other than we had our emergency. But you were very eager to get it back because it was a brand new build.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, the opening was pretty
no, you're good, but like,
I'm sorry, just for what it's worth, man, it's family's everything in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, for multiple reasons, sorry you went through that. And
no, thank you.
Keep on pumping,
Yeah.
keep on chugging along.
No, and he was a big car guy. We got to be there with him. He's definitely, he's at ease, right? So
that's good.
So while the vehicle's sitting there, while we were in Idaho, you're like, hey, can I just ship the car and get looking at it? So that's what we did. Well, that's what he did. He had a transport pick it up, and it was drivable, right? We were fine. So you guys know that we did bend a tie rod, and at Rubicon, they have the mechanics there. Those guys swapped it out in like no time. They pulled everything apart, swapped it out. He just put it right back to the measurement, steering wheel straight.
Yeah, it's easy.
We're good to go. No big deal.
Give you a spare
We did take a spare just in case. So
because I told you I wanted you to test something for me.
So the reason, you're right, so we get into that. The reason why we didn't go with your super beefy, crazy upgraded, which we'll show you all this in a bit, was you wanted me to test the actual OEM with the sleeve with your upgraded outer.
Yeah, it's not always a bigger part is stronger when you're trying to chase something else wrong with the car, right? If you've got incorrect geometry and you're putting unnecessary forces on the steering system, some people say, oh, I broke the tie rod, so that means I just need a stronger tie rod. But how about like backing off of just putting a Band-Aid on something and finding the real root of it? Why are there so many forces on there? It's like everything we've ever done with Pro Runner that anybody's ever seen, jumps, the whoops, the rock crawling, everything has all been with an OEM inner tie rod, right? A 16 millimeter Ford Bronco Raptor inner tie rod with just like our outer extension on it, and we just to get it the added length. But our geometry has been so clutch, it's been so exact that I haven't had additional forces on the steering system where I've needed to just make things bigger and stronger to, like Band-Aid something. But I asked you, I was like, hang on, but I still just don't trust it. It's like the last OEM Ford part that was on the car.
The only thing left on Ford, other than the engine, I guess, the only thing that you guys didn't upgrade in the steering and suspension and everything was one Ford part. You did reinforce it with a sleeve.
Yeah, like traditionally, this has been what people have done. And I think this is fantastic up to a certain point. You're running 37s, you are never gonna break an M16 16 millimeter inner OEM tie rod sleeve, unless your geometry's wrong, of course, but you're not gonna break it.
Right.
It was up until you guys with your 40s air down, doing one of the hardest trails on the West Coast, hitting the Rubicon, locked up. Did you hit the extra credit spots, or did you?
Yeah, we didn't go around anything. Like we went through all the hard stuff, which is, I was like, I'm gonna test it. I've got a spare tie rod. I'm gonna see what we can do, and it really did beautifully. I mean,
like,
it did beautifully.
I mean, everything's engineering. Everything is just mechanics and science and calculation. It's like I wanted you to find that limit to see, like, hey, if somebody wants like an OEM inner with 0 added bump steer, what limit can I say is going to be acceptable for them? Like trail running, how hard are they going to drive where I can confidently say you're not going to have a problem, because it's all about the driver. And you guys rock crawling puts the most, puts so many forces on that system.
And if I would have just gone through the Rubicon, I don't think we would have had an issue, right? If I wouldn't have done Soup Bowl, although it didn't bend on Soup Bowl, but if I didn't do little sluice and get kind of bound up in a rock, like if I didn't do those extra little things, it would have done through the Rubicon just fine. Like, I mean, because all the rest of it's, you know, I will say I can go too fast through the Rubicon because the suspension actually works so good that when you start getting onto stuff where people are slowing down over the rocks this big, I can just drive like it's a normal road. But so we did, so I know we're trying to preemptively hit those questions or remarks that people are going to be like, oh, you spent all that money, you built all this, and you bent a tie rod. See, I told you the steering sucks. Well, no, that was literally the only thing we didn't upgrade. That's kind of the whole.
Dude, rock crawling, man, off-roading is just.
And 40s are big. 40s and beadlocks is a lot of weight. Yeah, it's a lot of weight.
Dude, off-roading is the intentional degradation of a machine in exchange for a smile, dude. It's like, you're going to break, you have problems, like, who cares? Yeah. But I appreciate you testing that out for us.
Yeah.
I now know the limits, but, I mean, dude, we have freaking bulletproof steering systems.
Right.
Like, it's hard to explain bump steer and angulation and misalignments and pins and double shear. It's like so technical. Like, we figured all that out. I want to take you to the back. I want to kind of lay a couple parts out on the table.
Okay.
And then kind of talk about a lot of people. Our good friend Quinn at 74 Weld has done a lot. I mean, what he's done for the Bronco steering industry is
the billet rack. Yeah.
Just thank you. Like.
Yeah. The billet rack.
Without it, we'd still be on only cap and bushings. We wouldn't have that confidence. Like, you're not going to break that.
Right. I'm not going to snap the end of that rack off like people do on the factory one. So.
Yeah.
But I will say, so you got the Bronco in and you had a couple hours to look over it before I got here. That's got to be the most beat up pro runner in the shortest amount of time.
Oh yeah.
By far, right? Yeah. We didn't take it easy. Like, I smashed rocks, I smashed diffs, I smashed skids, I pivoted on sliders. I did as much damage as I could without feeling bad.
I put it in the back. I'm like, hey guys, just check the car out. It's a new build, and he kind of took it further than your average customer would. So, like, really dissect it. And rock crawling can beat up a car, but dude, the car's perfect.
It's really great.
Freaking perfect.
Yeah.
There's no issue. The rear section, we saw a little bit of tire contact in the rear tub.
Which, they saw in the video. So when it gets fully articulated and stuff, those big nittos have big knobs, and it was just kind of catching the corner of the bumper. Yeah. That's just
it's a little. I mean, I don't think anybody who's ever put 40s on an off-road car hasn't needed to do a little bit of relieving in scenarios.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Like, guys, I think they've already done it. Just a quick little tip. And then we're actually going to shift your rear bumper back just a smidge.
It has
the corner of the bumper, the tire was just kind of touching on the nubs. Yeah. The guys are just going to kind of shift that back. But this is the cool thing about doing like a shakedown run, is you find all these little things, implement it, and now you just.
And now all the rest of your vehicles will have those implemented.
Always
be implemented, which is super cool. I love the fact that, like, I mean, they have a lot of these out there, but let's be honest, most people aren't right away. Like, it's going to take them a little bit of time to have such a beautiful vehicle. And there were already comments saying, man, you guys just spent all that time and money and it looks that beautiful, custom paint, and you went straight to pivoting off of everything. And I mean, it did perform fairly flawlessly, and I say fairly only because that tie rod, but now we have a fix for that.
I've had it. It's just,
right, no, yeah. He asked me, he literally said, he goes, I've got the biggest, beefiest thing. He can't get out of the office to go beat up his own as badly as I was going to beat it up. So this was like a challenge. And he's like, if I give you a spare tie rod, since they have a mechanics thing there, will you try to bend this factory one? And I'm like, bet. I was like, bet. Yeah. So, and you guys know me, like, I didn't try sending it off a cliff to bend it, but I was like, okay, let's get in a position that somebody in a big vehicle says, I should be able to do this.
Yeah.
And I did it. It just found its little Ford weak link. But you have more options than just this now. So let's go show them that.
Yeah, right on.
Okay,
let's do it.
So as you can see, the guys are already hard at work The Bronco's here, everything's off. They just want to check everything over because they know that this is not going to be the end of the beating up of our Pro Runner. So they've got all the wheels off. They're checking everything over. Things are apart, and so we're going to let them work, and we'll go over some of the stuff that they're doing. But George, why don't you get into all your cool stuff and explain? Let's learn some things, because there's a lot that goes into what's going on.
Looking at parts, I think that's the most important part. We studied steering, God, so many times. We have so many iterations of steering, and I think that there's like a low consumer confidence in Bronco steering, and it's the first thing everyone says. You're gonna break a tie rod. You can't steer. That's the furthest thing from the truth. That problem is 100% resolved. 100% resolved. And we continue to test and we continue to develop. So aim the camera down. I'll show you guys some parts here.
Okay.
I'm gonna use a little Sharpie here. So what you're looking at right here, this is the very first tie rod. Outer tie rods don't matter. Inner tie rods are the fail points.
The pressure is.
It's always.
Pressure. Well, the nut, the outer comes to here. The nut goes on. It bends right. Yeah. It bends right here.
Historically, it's always been breaking or bending at the thinnest shear diameter, which is, on this Gen 1 OEM Bronco tie rod, that's 14 millimeters. Right here, 14 millimeters. Guys have had sleeves and braces. This is typically where it's failed. In come the Raptor, in come Broncos.
Well, before you get corrected, this necks down all the way to small right here, but why aren't we worried about this?
Well, this will only break if you got knuckleheads out there taking them outside of... Oh, wow, that was embarrassing. Taking them outside of joint angle. They don't break because of load, they break because the suspension is inaccurate and it's shearing off.
And that's when people are doing like collar lifts and
BS
and not doing things correctly. So
this is not a weak point.
The reason is because this is attached to the rack, and the pressure is here between the outer tie rod and here. All your forces end up in this area. Yeah. So here's like you said, Gen 1. Gen 2 you can already see is bigger.
The theory has always been, if we use a 16 millimeter inner tie rod and then sleeve any remaining threads, how strong is that? How far can we take it? Guys, these do wonders up to a certain point. Kevin found that point, finally.
Right.
So put the camera back down here. So now you can kind of see the thread engagement is protected via housing in this area, and then the sleeve covers this all the way up to this 20 millimeter section. So 16 up to 20. The theory was you're not going to break or bend a 20 millimeter bar. Hardened steel, the heat treating is fantastic. Guess not.
Well,
that's all right.
Well, but to a certain point. Everything's to a certain point.
Everything's to a certain point.
Yeah.
Pretty much all major applications. And the best way to develop a product is to test it. Testing is everything. Every vehicle we build is a test of our product, but it is, right? Working with experienced off-roaders who are out crawling the Rubicon Trail and hitting the heaviest rocks, they're gonna find any weak links in it. But mine, don't worry. Just like everybody else, we've got full Heim, right?
Right.
You are not going to break this, Kevin. And unless you go Dukes of Hazzard to try to cross the bridge.
I mean, you can hit a tree at 50 miles an hour and break anything, right?
I'm just saying. Be careful with my
no, I know.
But
aside from complete driver error,
So I'm not still completely. I'm never gonna give up on an OEM inner, because I know how great it is having like an OEM 360 joint with little to no added bump steer. I know how important it is, and how you don't need to go full crazy strength because of that added bump steer. So what is bump steer? You guys have probably seen it explained many times. Bump steer on a independent front suspension system, amongst several other potential factors, but in regards to this conversation, our added strain on steering system can be best described as such. If I was to draw like a bit of a line,
that ball
the center of that ball is, and I'm just trying something like that. It's about right here. And on this one, you'll notice it's a larger ball diameter, but very little change of direction from center point, so little to no added bump steer. If this pivot point shifts that way, you increase that side bump impact from, like, if you look at like the upper control arm, the lower control arm, how everything is all kind of pivoting in its vertical up and down fashion. The further away the pivot is from an OE position, that changes the dynamics of how the IFS is operating. So people will go and change the center position, just like this guy down here, Now look at where the center point is. That's that pivot right in there.
Got 3/4 of an inch or something.
About a half, 3/4 of added movement. Now, mind you, this is 17.4 clevis. Just, sorry, I'm gonna reach over here.
Yeah.
This is our custom machine bolt that actually goes, you know, we don't cut a corner and use an off-the-shelf bolt. We actually machine one ourselves. That way, it's pretty sweet. I'll show you. Some people will use like an off-the-shelf bolt that wobbles in there. We didn't want that. We wanted to do precision machining. So when we drop this in there, you'll notice it just so sweet.
Oh, it is.
Drops
That
in
is
there.
a tight fit.
And I don't have any bolt walk in there. It's just nice and snug. So it makes this whole assembly, when tightened, it kind of makes it become one assembly, like an OE stamp forged part. Where if you were to use like an off-the-shelf bolt and kind of get it in there, it's never gonna. It's even though you're torquing this against the wall of the rack rod, you're never gonna get it as strong as an OEM joint, because this is all one machine forged, one forged then machine system. So this just kind of gets it all.
There it goes.
Yeah. This just kind of brings it all together. We've got our misalignments with our Heim joint.
So we're stronger now, but because of it setting a little bit further out, we're going to introduce a little bit of extra forces and bump steer, which isn't going to be terrible, but it's the
minimal.
it's minimal, but it's the peace of mind that I'm not going to have any issues anymore. Me personally.
Any aftermarket full Heim, they have this exact concern. Everybody. Right. All of our friends are different builders. They all have this exact same concern.
Right.
It is nominal. It's minimal. But if we don't need to, we don't want to.
Right.
I don't want it to seem like, oh, you're downgrading or you're going to get a lower performing car. No, you're going to be just fine.
Right. And
I overanalyze everything, and that's my job.
And we're taking the steps. And then the only other slight thing is nothing comes without, you know, some sort of, like, everything's a give and take.
Sure.
Is that when we go to this whole setup now, we do have to limit a little bit of steering angle over the OE setup. Not a ton,
just a little bit.
But we do need to limit a little bit of steering for the forces and for clearance.
Yeah, well, you got a big old 3.0 race grade shock inside there. So when that tie rod is turning, we're going to take you from like 29 degrees turning radius to about 26 degrees.
Yeah,
I don't notice it. I don't care.
Right.
That's easy. It's all done in the background.
But even this, you weren't happy with. Not happy. I don't want to say not happy. Even this, you wanted to do more.
I don't want added bump steer. I know how crucial it is, and I like that OE feel. You know, that OE non-added bump steer. So check this out. This just hit the market. So, I'm going to show it here.
We're going to set it. Hold on. Let me get it all squared up in line. There we go. Right? It's okay.
So 14 millimeter, 16 millimeter, right? This is what's found exactly on the Haas 3.0s. Also what's found on Bronco Raptor. And come the King Kong. This thing's awesome. Apex chassis just landed this. We're so freaking excited. Look at this guy. It's freaking monster.
You could
don't need a sleeve.
Don't need a sleeve.
You're done here. 14, 16, we're at 22 now. That's 22 and a quarter.
That's massive.
Yeah, about 22 and a quarter. Difference. Where I'm just on ours, you know, it's aluminum, but it's 28. So I'm now heat treated, high strength steel. It's a little bit smaller diameter, but this is OE grade where you've got that forged steel, and it's so darn strong.
Right. I mean, you are so happy with this, but didn't want. So you just took the OE design and just said, well, let's do beefier, bigger, crazier.
Yeah, this is just significantly larger. If you were to start looking at the neck, just so many points, right?
And if your question is why aren't we doing this, it's because this is ready. You want to test it, but also the outers for this, not the outers for this.
Yeah. So we're actually machining right now an outer tie rod that's going to made up with this big old hunky Apex setup. And Kevin, I'll send you a set. Right now you're golden. You're not going to break this. Go and crap out of it.
Right.
But as soon as we get some parts made up for this Apex setup, get it on there. No sleeve, no BS, just a tie rod outer and the Apex inner, and take it, get it aligned, and go rock and roll. It's going to be awesome. There is a little bit of that because they went with such a big ball. Sorry for how I said ball there. If you kind of look from the side, because they went with such a large diameter ball, which is exactly what I wanted them to do.
Yeah,
the center ball is probably something like that.
But it's
very minimal.
Yeah, it's not as aggressive as this. It's an 1/8 of an inch, 16th of an inch, something. It's something small.
And then this will then get like a factory boot, just like what we're used to seeing with the OEM boots over here. That just lock on. You never get moisture intrusion.
So this is actually pretty important. People need to know that this isn't just for looks. The rack is an electric rack, and the ends of the rack are open.
They're not waterproof.
They're not waterproof. So if you don't add this to this and you get water in it, your rack is literally fried because it's electric rack.
I've seen it so many times.
Literally fried.
Also, like, they'll have no boots and it'll be raining and they go and they hit those gutters.
But how the hell do you put a boot on this?
We kind of hacked the system on that. You've seen just, like, if you've got Heim steering, they fail. Like, the boots fail. I always see them puncture. It's because they're putting massive bolts on the clevis and they're trying to use this like generic big old boot. Typically the bolt itself is what chews up the boot. So they're using too big of bolts, too big of nuts. They're overcompensating for something. It's just not packaged well. That's kind of going through. The bolts and the hardware are just beating it up. But we're using some really slim hardware here, and there's not much load going sideways. We're using some really, if this was tightened, you'd have a very small footprint. So our boot just kind of slides in. Oh, it's kind of hard to hold this thing up like that. Our boot just kind of slides over.
But this isn't an OEM boot though. Well,
no, we found this on a BMW. Was it an E60? An E60 BMW tie rod boot. Yeah.
You have an E60? Oh, I love that V10.
Yeah, the Germans actually came up with this. A really good idea because they've got complex steering. It's tough to get it aligned. They came out with a way of like getting this over the Heim, but then you can't clamp this over a regular bar. It'll just ripple.
It'll just ripple and you'll get all the things in there.
So this is pretty sweet. It's like a 2-part locker system. So you kind of open this up, you can take it around your bar.
And it just happens to fit your bar perfectly.
No, we got to cord out the inner.
Yeah.
And then this can then go inside. For the sake of me, I'm not a tech anymore. This will kind of go over.
Right, and actually clamp down and seal it.
And then you can get that in, clamp, and bring it all together, and then you've got like a proper sealed boot that has OEM characteristics, plunging depth and all that stuff, clears up and just does what it's supposed to do.
That's nice. Guys, this doesn't just happen. Like the amount of time it probably took just to find this is like so stressful. Like you create all this, but then, anyhow.
A lot of this is very techy. It's like...
Yeah, I love it. And I think this shows, I mean, I'm hoping Ford people are watching this showing, holy crap, like this is a lot of time and effort to go into fixing, because there's been other people that are like, oh, let's just throw this on there. Oh, this is the fix. Don't worry about it.
No, they're chasing their tails.
And then they continue to break the stuff, but then either not show it or whatever because they're trying to sell product, where this is, no, let's show it. Let's show the failures. Let's show the upgrades. Let's show. I love the fact that you're not too proud to, when I bent it, you're like, damn, I was hoping you didn't, but I gave you an extra one in case you did. But let's fix it up now.
Do you know why? Actually, in a way, I was happy you did, because now I know. I never quite knew. I want to know where a failure point is, so then I can spec up to a certain point. And now I know where that fail point is. And it's about knowing your product that allows you to deliver a proper
Right. You can actually put in there now, anything over 38s or anything harder than whatever, go this way. And it's beautiful because everything's still OEM geometry. Yeah. But if you're Kevin, you're just gonna have to deal with some bumps here.
I think this one's gonna.
I'm more excited about this one than this one for some reason, because I do like the fact that, I mean, this is like a beautiful piece of OEM engineering, and
like, forget about it, you know.
Yeah, that's me. This is the guy she tells me not to worry about.
All right, let's go check out the car. Your car is solid. We didn't notice a little bit of rubbing on the rear bumper. We're just going to scoot that bumper back just a wee bit.
Yeah.
I think just right there at the corner of the bumper, your tire knobs were hitting it.
And we'll see what else. Let's go over and see if we found any, found anything. So the driver's side is where we bent the tie rod. They've got everything apart. Nothing else is being seen here. The tie rod being bent did, as you saw, got into like the King bump stop here. It didn't actually damage it as far as performance goes, but I think we'll go ahead and probably throw a new one on there just because it's such a nice new pretty build. You can see it actually got into the spring. Oh, it's really hard to say. Into the spring, but that's just the spring. Like, that's just coating. We're not going to worry about that. But nothing else here. Everything clears. Everything was good. It's good. It's literally just a tie rod. So you can see the end of the rack here. So they'll get the new the new stuff going in. So that's that we haven't found anything else. Nothing's gonna happen to those uppers or lowers because they're beefy as hell. So let's
Kevin, come around to this side.
Oh, okay.
We've got a good view. Like we pretty much went through everything.
Yeah.
We checked, right? Everything is still torque sealed. You guys beat the crap out of thing in the desert, so we checked all the welds out. We checked the upper shock towers, the lower control arms. A lot of hits, a lot of rash from the rocks, but no structural integrity.
No bolts loose.
No
even.
bolts, God, nothing.
None of the bolts are loose.
We torque everything. We Loctite everything, but.
You already have he's already got this on. I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
Oh, so here you go. So the other side's open. This one's already on.
Yeah, so you just you have a full Heim steering now, right? So it's got Heim inner, Heim outer, still in double shear. You're set. You're good.
Sick.
You're good.
Sick.
We'll get you some more parts to test to see if we can find I don't need you to find a failure point on this. It's not going to fail. But if
I fail on this somewhere here, something else is broken.
Yeah, something.
I snapped. I sent her to.
Yeah, if something's like locked or the joint just flipped, or you like hit a rock or something. But off-roading rock crawling. But,
super sick.
So the way that we do it is we'll just pretty much send this car out for we will eyeball them with some measurement tools we have to get it like straight.
I've got pretty good eyeballs for that stuff.
You know what? I remember that.
We did it 16th of an inch, dude.
Dude, that's amazing.
Or eighth, and they took it to 16th.
I mean, it's always you just kind of start with your best alignment in your shop and get it out and get on the fancy racks, you know.
Yeah.
But we'll just pretty much keep the boot kind of zip tied up, get it out to alignment. We'll do a quick little toe and go, torque everything down. And we'll just set the boot coverage, and you'll be on your way.
Sick.
There's nothing. Oh yeah. We had to do a little bit of adjustment to your rear bumper. Only clearance issue we had. You had a little tiny bit.
Yeah,
tiny bit of rub right there.
Nudo's got some big knobs on them.
Yeah,
so
we're just gonna loosen up. So your whole rear bumper system is this thing can go back almost an inch. We're just gonna scoot your rear bumper back about a half an inch to get you that clearance. Put you on the road and then get you out of here.
Sick. And everything else, we have all this down because we're really wanting to check everything out. I mean, we can't really find much. And the lower control arms, and you saw it, people mentioned in the video, one of them did come loose. I'm assuming it's just like a bolt or a nut. Yeah. A jam nut came loose.
It'd be tough to go under the car.
No, it's good. I mean, it's just mostly what it was I probably came down on a rock sideways pretty hard.
Yeah,
and
new Johnny joint jam nuts, and the things are like freaking. Kenny were like 2 inches, inch and three quarter, like the massive jam nut. It's really to get them as tight as you can. It's hard to get leverage on there. You got a jam nut come loose, which you probably hit a rock in the wrong way. Things happen out there. Falling over stuff.
Yeah, no, but this is stuff that you need to check because I did see somebody. We didn't notice it for a little bit, and then in the video, you definitely saw one of them. But honestly, I had a big crescent wrench, and when I brought it back to straight, it was tightening itself because you do have a left and a right thread. So as you pull it, it's tightening on its own.
Yeah.
So
it's really tough for those to break loose. You hit the wrong rock at the wrong time, and it hits.
It can. Of course, anything can happen. This is why you nut and bolt check cars anyway.
Yeah, but I think that shakedown run showed any potential weak links, any issues.
Yeah.
And then quick little shop check, tighten everything down, redo the torque check, and
you checked all the skids. What'd you think of that,
dude? You used those things.
Yeah, I did. It slid like butter.
I didn't see any contact and slides that like degraded the UMHW. It just did exactly what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I didn't see any like gouges to the point where you broke something.
Yeah.
You just used them, and I didn't even see any kind of visual scratches on the car. You're pretty much set, man. You are dialed.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We'll get these wheels and tires back on there and get you sent off to alignment and get you back on the road.
I can't wait.
What's up next? What are you doing next?
So we might try to do some trails out of Sand Hollow. If not, we will be headed to the Great Smoky Mountain Bronco Stampede. If you want to see this thing in person, it'll be out there and it will be driving around, and it will be during the show, we'll be at the RCV booth, and we're going to have it out there for Jeep, the Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion. So Brittany will be driving around her beautiful new Miami blue APG Bronco, and I'll be in the stepchild. So you'll see us rolling around together. Come say hi. Come check it out. If you're not a Bronco fan or a lover, come check it out because this thing is changing people's. They're actually loving it. So
I'm all about the mechanics, man. I'm all about one car for a certain application, but this thing carries its weight, dude.
It does. So we're getting it all done. we'll test drive it. I'll take you guys for a test drive, and we'll probably just close it out when I'm cruising home for the next, I don't know how many hours.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd get me out before rush hour, but that's not going to happen. So we're going to wait till after rush hour. Yeah, we'll see.
No, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, we're back on the road, good to go. Got the new tie rods on, alignment done, it's driving straight. There's not much to that, you know. We tested it out. We showed them the weak link. Now we've got the big beefy stuff, but I am curious to try the new factory style, really big ones in the future. Because with this big tie rod right now, we do limit the steering a little bit. Not a big deal, but you know, I want everything, and everything would be full steering, full strength, well, whatever. So maybe we'll try that in the future when he gets that all sorted. I know he's going to try it on his first, and then we'll see if it's Kevin proof. Anyway, hope you guys are learning a lot and just enjoying the stuff and this journey with us with this new APG build. He does have it very dialed, and that was the last OEM part, so I don't foresee anything else going on as far as any issues. So just time to wheeler some more and have some fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, you can find all of your Lite Brite Nation merch and decals at LiteBriteStudios.com. Love you guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Do you have my good side, or is this my good side?
I don't know.
I think we're good. I think.
Is there a good side?
Which I don't think so.
Do guys have good sides?
I think everybody has a good side. So.
You take the black one.